Hi, this is Holly from Play and Say. I'm back to talk about some more Easter activities that we can do with our kids. In the last video, we talked about ways to take a regular Easter egg hunt and turn it into a really language-rich experience for your kids. Today, we're going to talk about how to use the Easter basket and some cheap plastic Easter eggs to do some early literacy activities. The first thing you're going to do is get yourself a really big Easter basket and fill it up with that Easter grass. This is already a fun sensory experience for your kids. Let them play in it. They can feel it and hear the way it sounds when you play with it. That's a great experience for them. I would just hand them the basket and let them do it. Once the novelty wears off, then we can add in some of our plastic eggs to do some of these other literacy activities. So if you have a preschooler, then you might be working on letter identification and letter sounds. So one activity that we can do is actually to take the plastic eggs and separate them. And on one part, write the capital letter, and on the other part, you can put the lowercase letter. Put the eggs into the basket just like this, already separated. So your child can have fun in that sensory experience, digging all the eggs out, and then they can match them together. So they might need your help so that you can label for them and remind them what letter it is and what the letter sound is. So if your child's a little bit older and you might be ready to do something a little bit harder, maybe you have a kindergartner and you're learning sight words. One thing that you can do is put the same sight word on both the bottom and the top of the egg, and your child can search for them and match up the sight words. Again, if your child doesn't already know the sight words, you're gonna have to sit with them and help them read these. But it's just a good way to get another picture of the word in their head and then get that input from you again about what the word is. If your child's having a lot of trouble with sight words, then put the words that match on the same color egg. If you want to make it a little bit harder and your child's ready for that, don't match the colors, and then your child will have to work a little bit harder to look at that word in order to match the top and the bottom. I have one more example that might be good for pre-K. It's not actually reading, but they are also working on numbers and counting. So you could put dots and the number on the egg, and they would have to count the dots and then match it to the correct number. Sorry, there's a glare. Okay, back to maybe some later preschoolers or some kindergartners. If you're actually starting to work on blending, then you can do your egg like this, where you have the last letters of the word on one part of the egg, but then you can spin the bottom to change the word. And you can have your child sound these out and blend it together. Then you can flip that to where you might have the same beginning sound, but the end of the word is going to change as they spin it. So they would have to sound that out and blend it together. If you want to do something that's a little bit more language-based and not really just literacy, then I have a couple of ideas for you. We're still going to use the plastic eggs and separate them. In this example, we would be looking for synonyms. So explaining to your child, we're looking for words that have a similar meaning, and we want to match those together. So the example I have here is big and large. You could do the same thing, but do it with opposites. So for example, I have up and down. And then another thing you can do is categories. So on one part of the egg, you could have a category, and then they might need to match it to something that's on the other part of the egg. So for example, I have apple. The category for apple is a fruit. Okay, so those are just a few examples of how you can use some plastic Easter eggs to do some literacy, phonics type activities, and some language activities. I hope you guys have fun with your Easter activities, and thanks for watching.